is equal to 0, class integer x comma base is equal to 10. Return an integer object constructed from a number or string x, or return 0 if no arguments are given. If x defines underscore underscore integer method, integer x returns x dot underscore underscore integer method. If x defines underscore underscore index method, it returns x dot underscore underscore index underscore underscore method. If x defines underscore underscore trunk underscore underscore method, it returns x dot underscore underscore trunk underscore underscore method. For floating point numbers, this truncates towards 0. If x is not a number or if base is given, then x must be a string, bytes or byte array instance representing an integer in radix base. Optionally, the string can be preceded by plus or minus with no space in between, comma having leading zeros, comma be surrounded by white space, comma and have single underscores interspersed between digits. A base and integer string contains digits each representing a value from 0 to n minus 1. The values 0 to 9 can be represented by any Unicode decimal digit. The values 10 to 35, 15 can be represented by A to Z small or A to Z capital. The default base is 10. The allowed bases are 0 and 2 to 36. Base minus 2, base minus 8 and base minus 16 strings can be optionally prefixed with 0b or 0 capital B, comma 0o or 0 capital O, or 0x or 0 capital X, comma, as with integer literals encode. For base 0, the string is interpreted in a similar way to an integer literal encode, in that the actual base is 2, 8, 10 or 16 as determined by the prefix. Base 0 also disallows leading zeros. Integer 0, 1, 0, 0 is not legal, while integer 0, 1, 0 and integer 0, 1, 0, 8 are. The integer type is described in numeric types integer float complex. Changed in version 3.4, if base is not an instance of integer and the base object has base dot underscore underscore index method, that method is called to obtain an integer for the base. Previous versions used base dot underscore underscore integer method instead of base dot underscore underscore index method. Changed in version 3.6, grouping digits with underscores as in code literals is allowed. Changed in version 3.7, x is now a positional only parameter. Changed in version 3.8, falls back to underscore underscore index method if integer is not defined. Changed in version 3.11, the delegation to underscore underscore trunk is deprecated. Changed in version 3.11, integer string inputs and string representations can be limited to help avoid denial of service attacks. A value error is raised when the limit is exceeded while converting a string x to an integer, or when converting an integer into a string would exceed the limit. See the integer string conversion length limitation documentation. Is instance object comma class info. Return true if the object argument is an instance of the class info argument or of a direct, indirect or virtual subclass thereof. If object is not an object of given type, the function always returns false. If class info is a tuple or type objects, or recursively other such tuples or a union type of multiple types return true if object is an instance of any of the types. The if class info is not a type or tuple or types or and such tuples, a type error exception is raised. Type error may not be raised for an invalid type if an earlier check succeeds.